Hello. Hi, Carmen. Hi, Esther. Hi, Rainey. Hope everyone's doing well. Hi, Dinesh.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Good to see you.
Hi everyone, this is Rainey. I just figured out how to unmute on my iPhone.
Hi, Rainey. We'll be starting shortly.
Hopefully I'll figure out how to turn on my video in a second too.
We ready? Okay. I'll tell you what, can you get me Kathleen McDonald's book on how to meditate? There's one meditation. I lost it. I can use, oh, you had it right with you. My gosh. That's quick. Okay, let's just settle down and leave the day behind. So, start out doing the 9-round breathing, and in a few minutes, become even more relevant. But there's different ways to visualize this practice. It's like, it really has to do with balancing this sounds a little mysterious, but it's psychic energies, the prana, the energy. It said that the mind always rides on the winds, these psychic winds. So anyway, so that, when there's like the right nostril, the right nadi actually goes back, it's like an umbrella handle. It goes from the nostril back, and then right next, there's a central channel that goes from basically the secret area, basically the, sexual organs, but it starts there and it comes out through the top of the head, okay? And then the right nadi goes back right next to, and it's like central channel is bigger, and the nadis are like little straws. They go right next to the central channel all the way back, and you can imagine that they plug into the central channel at the level of the navel. Same on both sides. So you have a right nadi and a left nadi, and the central channel, which comes out the top of the head, goes right down to the sexual organs. So that's, and then when we do these, there's a meditation we'll do in a little bit, and we'll have to use this visualization the best we can anyway. But anyway, for the non-round breathing, you can imagine that you're breathing in the right nadi, and that energy's coming back, the wind, and it's coming down and it's connecting to the left nadi and coming out the left nostril, right? And then we do that 3 times, and then 3 times in the left nostril and 3 times out the right nostril. And then we do 3 times where we breathe in, and then as we exhale, we imagine that as we exhale, it's actually coming out the central channel, the top of our head. It's like the nadis have connected to the central channel at that point. So you can do it that way, make it more a little bit elaborate, or just do it your usual way. But let's use that method, this non-round breathing, to settle our minds. we'll do the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. I think it's on page 34. Close.
Page 34.
All right, so. Hello? Yeah. All right, so, and the refuge and bodhicitta prayer is kind of a starting point for all of our practices at Kadampa Center. And you can't, we repeat a lot of things here, and that's okay, because it takes a long time for things to get into our mind and really integrated with our mind, basically. So that hearing again and again and again is, we should see that as a good thing. For example, if you take a tantric initiation, one time you should try to take it as many times as you can, because each time you get a little bit deeper cut, a little bit deeper dive into the experience of that particular deity that you're meditating on. Same way with repetition in general. So the first two lines distinguish people, practitioners who are Buddhists from non-Buddhists, right? So I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So obviously a non-Buddhist would not have that as a refuge, a source of reliance. And again, we take refuge in the Buddha. There's the external Buddha, and then there's the Buddha that we have the potential to become. So it's a lot more interesting to take refuge in our own potential, our Buddha potential. So keeping that in mind. And then refuge in the Dharma, which is not just the words. The words don't really. When all is left of Buddhism is words, it says Buddhism's dead. It's the realizations of the meanings of those words in the minds of practitioners. So we're taking refuge in our own potentials to have realizations of the meanings of the words. And the Supreme Assembly has to do with the Sangha. There are different kinds of Sangha. There's like us, us ordinary people. And then there are the Arya Sanghas, those beings that have realized emptiness. And we want to take refuge in our potential to become, that kind of Sangha. Somebody who can really be of help to others. So think of those first two lines of Buddhism. I'm a Buddhist, and I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Sometimes in the Mahayana tradition, they say I take refuge in the Guru, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And then the second two lines have to do with the practices of bodhicitta. By the practice of giving and the other perfections, or the 6 bodhisattva perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. So that's bodhicitta motivation. All right, so we'll do that 3 times. And also, just remember, again, the sort of impulse for taking refuge should be confidence in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Also a sense of dread or fear, or just of living our lives with a mind that's really is sort of out of control most of the time, which is what most of our minds are like. So we have some dread of of having to endure this whole process of mental and physical chaos that we already have had plenty of experience with. So there's dread, there's confidence, and there's also compassion. Those are the reasons to take refuge. We have confidence that the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha can guide us. So that's enough said about that. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. And we'll just pause a little after each line for just a moment. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. And then we'll do the 7-limb prayer and the mandala offering. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. This ground anointed with perfume strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandalakam Nityatayami. So how has your week gone? Good. We made it. Those of us that are here made it. Good deal. Tonight I want to spend more time, a little bit of time reviewing, because again, it's important to go over this stuff, but also to do a little bit more, do some practices. And the one that we all have been encouraged to do a lot is Vajrasattva, which is a purification practice. Anybody here memorize the mantra, the 100-syllable mantra? I was going to ask you to lead. Oh my gosh. Oh well. The one I learned actually was it's called Haruka Vajrasattva. And so I get it kind of confused with the one we do around here, but it's, the one we do here is Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dino Patita Vido Me Bawa Satokayo Me Bawa Sapakayo Me Bawa Anarade Me Bawa Sawadiri Me Prayaja Savakama Suchame Shidam Sriyam Kuruham Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajra Mamaba Vajra Bawa Masamaya Sapa Ahum Pe. Anyway, that's the mantra. And there's a meaning for it, but you don't really have to think about the meaning. It's, the mantras are these, mantras are come from Sanskrit syllables that were uttered by enlightened beings, and so have been passed down through the millennia from generation to generation. And they're sometimes called words of power, but also mantras are another term for mantras like mind protection. Normally, our discursive mind likes to run off in various directions, and if we could harness the verbal energy that is our discursive mind and recite mantras that actually have profound meanings. Like, for example, anybody So what's the mantra of Medicine Buddha? Who knows that one? All right. Linda, go for it.
Te taon bekense maha bekense rajasamukade soha.
All right. So again, that mantra's been, I mean, I think we've done retreats doing that mantra here, I think over the years. And when you do mantra in retreat, now I brought a mala. This was actually given to me by one of my patients. She had just gotten back from India. She knows I'm Buddhist, so she brought me this really big Raksha mantra, mala from. She's anyway. She's amazing. She's so sweet. So we always have malas that have 108 beads on them, and then this is called the Guru bead. I'm giving you a little bit of nitty gritty of Tantra, but you see a lot of people walking around with malas, and the point is not for show, but use them to count your mantras. So if you do a long retreat, you have to do 100,000 recitations of a particular mantra. There are 108 beads, so they assume. And some malas have 110 beads for retreat purposes, because they figure you're going to mess up a bunch of mantras, so you might as well have a little buffer. That's the point of having more than 100 beads on the mala. But anyway, so each time, and when you're using a mala, and you do the mantra like Om Mani Padme Hum, and the mantra of like the 4-arm chin raising and 1,000-arm chin raising over there. That's the mala of the Buddha of compassion. I mean, the mantra of the Buddha of compassion. You do Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. When you do mantras, you do it. Usually we don't do them out loud. Usually, but you do it. This is kind of weird, but you do it in a way that you're saying the mantra, but somebody sitting next to you couldn't hear you. So it's sort of like Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And you don't do it slowly. You try to get a bit of a rhythm going. So it'd be like, it's not Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. You do that, then when you get around to let's say you get the whole mala, and you get around here, you get Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. And then you come back to the Guru bead. What do? You turn it around. You don't walk over the Guru. It's supposed to be a sign of respect for the Guru that gave you the empowerment to do the practice, right? So then you do it again, like that. So you see malas or rosaries, I guess, is the Catholic version of it, but this tradition's been around, even Hinduism, long before even Buddhism was around. The use of malas to count mantras has been around forever. So that's a little bit about that. So anyway, tonight I wanted, again, as a way of reviewing, one of the things that you have to do when you take, well, first of all, you need an empowerment, right? Remember that discussion last week on the video, Kurti Sinchap Rinpoche talked about how you need an empowerment. So you need an initiation, and it's like a blessing ceremony. It's also a guided meditation. So your guru, this person that you've chosen to be, your teacher, your guru, somebody that you have a lot of confidence in. So your guru will, lead you through this guided meditation, which is the empowerment. And that's why there's a blessing that goes along with it. Now, what is a blessing? Who wants to take a stab at that one? What's a blessing?
Anyone on Zoom want to unmute? Anyone in here? Want to take a stab?
Look it
at
up on Urban Dictionary and see what you can find. I don't. So you know, blessings are, it's kind of mysterious, but they're, you know, like if you go to see Geshe-la, for example, or the Lama Zopa, or when he was alive, or you get to see His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and you're in the presence of a really holy being, there's some sort of transmission of energy. Again, this sounds a little mysterious, but it basically makes you happy, and that's a blessing. So anytime we make other people happy, it is a blessing, and vice versa. When other people, you know, make us happy, you know, it's kind of a blessing. So it's like that, but there's definitely a blessing involved in just taking an empowerment from a qualified tantric master. It's so rare to find a qualified master to do that. And when you take the initiation, usually you're committing to something. Everybody goes, whoa, wait a minute. I'm okay up until now, but this is tricky. I don't want to commit to anything. But usually you're committing to do, you might commit to like do a retreat for, you know, 100,000 mantras of maybe 4 different mantras, 100,000 times. Might take you a month to do it. Might take you 2 weeks to do it. Depends on what the retreat is. Might take you 3 months to do it. But you know, the retreats, and then you're promising to do some of those mantras every day. So usually it's 7 or 21 times a day. You'll say Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, or whatever that is. So each one of the deities, and we mainly deal with the Kriya Tantra deities, right? The action tantric deities, which should be like where's the medicine? Yeah, there's the medicine Buddha over there, the blue one that Linda just did, you know, that mantra. So again, Medicine Buddha has his own particular mantra. Tayata Om Bhagavate Bhagavate Maha Bhagavate Bhagavate Radhasamagati Soha. And then there's white Tara, I believe over there, and it's Om Tari Tutari Turi Mahayana Punyana Pushtim Guris Yasoha. So she's she has to do with long life. Then there's another Medicine Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha has a mantra. Taya ta Om Mani Mani Ma Mani Soha. Green Tara has a mantra. Om Tari Tutari Turi Soha. Om Tari Tutari Turi Soha. There's another Tanka of Thousand Om Chinrizik. And then there's Vajrasattva. That's one, you know, that's the I think that's just, let me see. I can't tell for sure. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that's Vajrasattva. Yeah, it's Vajrasattva with consorts. That would be like a Hasyoga Tantra image. And then, again, Medicine Buddhas all over the place. And then we have Lama Atisha and his Shakyamuni Buddha, and then his principal disciples. And then this is a Hasyoga Tantra image of Kala Chakra. You know, so that's, you know, those are the, and Kala Chakra has a whole bunch of mantras. The one that people recite is Amaham Hamkya Malavaraya Humpe. So there's a lot of them, but they're bunch. Every deity has a mantra, and these are blessed words. These are blessed words that have energy, and the colors affect our minds too. So Tantra is very kind of vibrant because the colors, the sounds, the visualizations are all so much different than what we do in Sutra, isn't it? we talk about bodhicitta and the leaven of this, and meditate on this and meditate on that, and all of a sudden we're in this world of color and sound and visualizations, and it's really, it seems so different. But that's how but Tantra is different, and then when you take the initiation, you also take vows, and for the Kriya Tantra, the Kriya and the Action Tantra, the action and performance Tantra, sorry, the first two levels of Tantra. So those two levels, you have to take the Bodhisattva vows. So that I've got this little thing that one of our members made out about 30 years ago. I got a bunch of these hanging around that have the 18 root downfalls of the Bodhisattva and the 46 secondary offenses. So those are things that you would take if you were going to do Kriya Tantra practice. You would want to be ready to take these vows, and these are vows that you can study ahead of time. So you can say, well, I can't do that. I can't do that. These are pretty simple ones, though. Praising yourself and criticizing others, failing to give dharma or material assistance, failing to accept someone's apology, so on, like that. Those are the 18 root and 47 or 48, 46 secondary offenses. And the 46 secondary offenses are all kind of grouped around the 6 perfections. They revolve around that. And then, if you want to practice at the highest level of Tantra, you have to be willing to take the most difficult vow. I think Lama Atisha said, I frequently break my bodhisattva vows, but I'm pretty much aware of breaking them, and I try to clean them up right away, I guess. He says, I don't know exactly what he said, but something along those lines. But he says, my tantric vows, I break them like rainfall, just constantly, because they're hard to keep. But they're 11, 10 or 11, I can't remember, don't have it in here, tantric vows that are important to know, memorize and know what they are and stuff like that. So there's lots to do. And keeping your vows and commitments, keeping the vows is one thing. The commitment is to do the practice every day. Maybe it's just 7 mantras. Maybe it's to do, for example, this is a sadhana, right? We call it, it's basically a little booklet that has the practice in it. Method, call it sadhana, I guess translate as a method of accomplishment. And you either you promise to do the sadhana every day, or you promise to do the mantras every day. So you have to keep the vows and commitments to keep the energy of the deity alive in your mental continuum, and then it's really expected that you would do a retreat on any deity that you have had an initiation or empowerment with. It's one thing to have your little daily practice going, but you can't go really deep into Tantra, or really any of Buddhism. I hate to say this, but we're just skimming the surface here at Kadampa Center, and it's great. The surface is good, but there's so many levels deeper than where we are experiencing it. It's unbelievable. We don't have any concept of how deep this practice is, because really the juice comes when you take time out from your daily chaos and put yourself in retreat where you don't have any distractions, where you can completely put your mind and energy into the practice. That's when I guess the real juice, that's where the real juice is in any practice in Buddhism, particularly in Tantra. So kind of bounce around, but
can I ask a quick question, Don?
Yeah, go ahead.
For the Vajrasattva practice, you don't have to have the empowerment or even the blessing to do that one, correct?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think, I think what I've heard about it is that, for example, the image on the front is the same as this image. It's basically Haruka Vajrasattva. With, it's a male and female in sexual union as a consort practice. And when they first came out with this practice, there was a solitary Vajrasattva, just a male sitting there, holding Vajra and bell. And Lama Zopa wanted this. He wanted this image because it's more powerful, because it's a Hatha Tantra image. And so, he said, look, it's okay to do it. Lama Zopa gave people permission to do the practice. In a perfect world, you would have an initiation into the practice, but it's not easy to get those empowerments. And so that's what I understood when this first came out, because Nick Rubish printed this and then it was widely distributed. I think Lama Zopa really wanted people to do some sort of purification practice. Now, I was blowing leaves this past weekend, trying to get ready to plant grass. A little bit late, but whatever, But I had to blow my yard, and I saw all these acorns, and right next were these trees. The leaves in this giant tree, and I really immediately flashed on how karma is expandable. Remember how we talk about that? Karma is definite. Positive leads to happiness. Negative leads to suffering. And then we talk about how it grows exponentially. So it's just the tiniest little positive action can lead to a oak tree. A little acorn, huge, thousands and thousands of pounds of tree just from that little seed, that little acorn. Karma's that way, and then of course you can't experience a result without creating the cause, and karma's never lost. Those are the things. So we want to purify our mind, because number one, karma is growing like crazy, and the negative karma we want to clean up as quick as we can, and the positive karma we want to rejoice in that, of course. And we want to take every opportunity to plant any kind of positive karmic seed, just a smile or some act of kindness, giving a beggar something by the side of the road. Always try to keep something in my thing just in case. I hate throwing money at people, but sometimes if you have chance. I remember Bob Thurman was here. I don't know if anybody knows who he is. He's actually Uma Thurman's dad. Big deal, right? But Bob was actually the first Westerner to become a Buddhist monk. He didn't last very long, but he was a Buddhist monk. And I think he was ordained by His Holiness, and he eventually left the monastic life to get married and have children. But anyway, what was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, Bob used to. She said when he was in New York, whenever he saw beggars, he would reach into his pocket, and whatever was in his pocket, cash. Back in those days, you keep cash and change in your pocket. He'd give it to whatever it was. He didn't even know what he had in his pocket. So sometimes he'd go, "Oh my gosh, that's $50." But he'd give his practice was to give it to the first beggar or first person who asked for. Who had beggars basically in New York. So anyway, it's karma is all these purification practices have to do with understanding how powerful karma is and how it creates our whole world, and then we want to purify it, right? And remember what the 4 abundant powers are? That's something we all need to know. That one. right? Shame on you. No, I'm just kidding. It's really important to know these.
Reliance, regret, remedy, and resolve.
Exactly. So do you want to give a little commentary on each one? What does that mean to you?
Okay, reliance is can be divided into refuge and bodhicitta. So, kind of speaking to the confidence that you were saying before, and kind of inspiring you that this is going to be effective. And then regret is recalling. It's kind of like the dread you were talking about before, and recalling karma, and just remembering that. It's you have to be careful not to feel too guilty, and to use regret as a positive way to remember that, hey, I need to purify this, but also I need to, be careful with my body, speech, and mind moving forward because of karma. And then, let's see, the next one is remedy. So, remedy to me is helpful because there's something you can do about, we all have created all these mistakes in our own suffering, but it's not hopeless, And so it's nice to, to learn and gain knowledge about the things that you can actually do to make things better. And that there's so many things you can do too, and so the Vajrasattva practice is one of them, but there's other things you can do as well, and then resolve is that is important. I think that's one of the most important things, and probably the hardest thing for me is it's easier to start with big things like, for me, like not killing, right? That's an easier one to do, but the harder ones are the ones that are the really ingrained habits that you keep doing over and over again. And you realize you're creating your own suffering. But if you can remember and use that resolve to remember, hey, you have the potential to change this and stop this. And if you keep doing that, then eventually it will happen. And then I think rejoices, you can also throw that in there as well, because it's also good to remember the positive things that you did.
Wow, great. That's awesome. I would just, echo that, I've heard various teachers say this, that of all, there's reliance, there's, regret, which is obviously we have to come to terms with what we've done, be honest with ourselves, which is really hard to do, and sometimes I'll go through the 10 non-virtues: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, slander, harsh, frivolous talk, greed, hatred, and ignorance. And we've done it we go, well, I never killed anybody, I don't think I did, and I didn't do some of these things, but we've done them all. In this life, if we haven't done it, we've done it in past lifetimes. So we want to purify not only the karma of this life, but past lifetimes as well. So having sincere regret is really important. And then, and then the remedy obviously could be the 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva. It could be the medicine Buddha mantra. It could be any mantra. And I think, to your point, it's also apologizing to people. Like if we've done something to somebody, that's affected somebody adversely, don't, it's not like we go sit on our cushion and do Vajrasattva practice for half an hour when the person is next door. And we just have to walk over there and say, I'm really sorry. I've just messed up big time, and I'm so sorry I did that. That's important. It's really important. And then again, to your point, the power of resolve is, the resolve to not do it again. That is so, I think it gets glossed over, but then again, teachers say it's the most important one, because if we need to have strong resolve to avoid that negativity for as long as we can. And for some things, it's like we can only avoid a certain, like thinking. All right, well, if I said I resolve to not, to see things inherently exist. Obviously, I'm going to break that one in a second. So, but if you can keep it for, if something's hard and you can only keep it for a few minutes, then resolve not to do it for a few minutes, for a few hours or a few days like that. Or sometimes I'll just say, I resolve to do as much as I can to avoid all the non-virtuous actions and to practice virtue. Sometimes it's something, a blanket like that. But if there's something really on your mind, like you really, you got angry and you upset a lot of people and you don't want to do that again, that may be something you want to resolve, really to avoid for as long as, maybe a day. Just work on it. I know that in AA, for example, friends of mine, and they'll say that it's always about taking everything a day at a time. I think that's crucial for us. All right. So, yeah.
So what we're talking about right now, it was the purification, like a purification.
Yeah.
And is that part of Tantra? How does it connect with Tantra?
Okay. Well,
Because it seems like it just seems like well, I don't know. I'll let you speak.
All right, I'll tell you. This is a tantric practice. This is a purification practice. Aruga Vajrasattva is one particular practice it's just meant for purification. But in the highest yoga tantra practices, in every sadhana, and sometimes those sadhanas are 20, 30 pages long, there's always a Vajrasattva practice in there for purification. Yeah, exactly. You got to clean up. In other words, the things we want to do before we do the actual practice is clean up the mess and create some positive potential in our mind. That helps us be more effective and more focused when we're doing the actual, meditation retreat or practice. So almost every sadhana has, I can't remember in the Kriya Tantra, I couldn't point it out specifically because you don't do Vajrasattva in Kriya Tantra, but there are practices for purification and practices for creating merit before we actually go into the visualization and mantra recitations. All right.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So in Vajrasattva practice, so I've done a number of them, right? And so when I physically prostrate, I'm no longer physically able to prostrate, a full prostration. So I just visualize as I'm doing the prostration that my body is actually covering the earth and that type of thing. I'm assuming that because I'm physically incapable of doing it, that it's fine to do it like that.
So you're thinking the prostrations as a form of purification? Right. Yeah.
The Vajrasattva as a purification practice. So now that I'm unable to do the full prostration, when I do the mantra, I just visualize me doing the physical prostration.
Yeah. See, I think what I'm hearing you say is that, for example, some Some teachers will, see, Vajrasattva, this practice usually is done sitting down, right? And you're not prostrating. But other times you might do Vajrasattva practice, you might do Vajrasattva mantras, and do physical prostrations while you're reciting the mantra. You know, you can imagine light and nectar coming in and purifying your body, speech, and mind. That would be something maybe a particular teacher might have taught you to do. And so that's why you were doing it that way. And there are different ways to do prostrations, right? I mean, for example, just putting your hands at your heart is a form of prostration. And then we can do visualized prostrations and then actual prostrations. A lot of times, if you see Geshe, most of the time when Geshe comes in the room, he does a half prostration. And then when you're doing them the real way, I mean, if you go to Bodh Gaya, there'll be thousands of people there and they'll be doing full length prostrations, you know. And without going into any detail, I mean, it just takes more effort, right? But there has to be the 4 opponent powers there, otherwise it's just exercise. You might as well go to the gym, really. You know, the reliance, the regret, and then the remedy, which is the prostrations. But again, while you're doing the prostrations, you can imagine that light and nectar is coming in from the guru or from the Buddha that you're working with. So let's say it's Chenrezig, for example, coming from Chenrezig's heart, and rainbow light and nectar coming in and completely pushing all your negativity out through the lower parts of your body or through your feet as you do each prostration. That's one technique that Lama Yeshe taught me one time, many years ago, that particular practice with Chenrezig. So, yeah, again, a lot of ways to prostrate, but again, that's part of the 4 opponent powers. You know, that the other pieces have to be there, and then at the end, you know, you should make have a resolution or resolve. So I shortened this class to 2 times, which I did it because it was so much information. I thought first of all, I felt bewildered trying to get ready for it. Because there was so much information, and there is a lot of information. I mean, I've kind of thrown a lot at you tonight, but I want to do 2 practices. We got 56, maybe 40 minutes left. I'd like to do this practice called inner heat that Kathleen McDonald has in this book, and called How to Meditate. And Lama Yeshe used to teach this. This is like highest yoga completion stage kind of stuff. But the idea is to work with blissful energy that you can generate with your mind. Because in the completion stage, highest level, highest yoga tantra, the method is bliss, and wisdom is the wisdom of emptiness, right? So bliss is a big part of highest yoga tantra, being able to create that blissful awareness. When your mind is completely blissed out, does it want to go anywhere? Heck no. That's why you can develop single-point concentration. So again, I don't have this experience, but I've heard it said, you can develop single-point concentration much more quickly using tantric methods because you can develop this blissful awareness, and then the mind just is completely content and stays put. And then with this blissful awareness too, if you want to penetrate reality, your understanding of the wisdom of emptiness, again, bliss comes in, is very helpful. So I'm not really giving this subject justice, I'm just trying to give you some sense of how this fits into the path. So I did the visualization. I talked about it earlier, but I'm going to read this practice. So why don't you sit up straight? It's a couple of pages long, and then if we have time, we'll do Vajrasattva too. So this meditation is especially powerful, is an especially powerful Vajrayana method for tapping and skillfully utilizing our innate blissful, positive mental energy. There is an intimate relationship between our mind and subtle nervous system. Mental energy flows through the body within a psychic nervous system composed of thousands of thin, transparent, subtle channels. The three principal ones, known as the central, right, and left channel, run parallel to and in front of the spinal column. Pure mental energy can function only within the central channel, whereas diluted energy flows through all the others. So again, the central channel from here down to the sexual organ, and then the right and left channel, the nadis. That's what he's talking about. She's talking about. At present, our central channel is blocked by knots of negative energy, anger, jealousy, desire, pride, and so forth, at points or chakras corresponding to the base of the spine, the navel, the heart, the throat, and the crown. Okay, so there's our energy centers here, at the throat, at the heart, at the navel, and they say the base of the spine. Okay, so those are energy centers. To the extent that this diluted energy is active, the pure energy of mind is blocked and unable to function. Recall, for example, the enormous physical and mental tension created by strong desire or anger. There's no space at all for calmness and clarity. The inner heat meditation is an excellent method for transforming this powerful energy and developing spontaneous control over all of our functions of body, speech, and mind. Mere suppression of anger, attachment, and other emotions does not eliminate them, it compounds them. The solution is literally to transform this energy, which by its nature is neither good nor bad, into blissful, free-flowing energy. Skillful practice of the meditation will show us that we are capable of happiness and satisfaction without needing to rely upon external objects, an idea that is inconceivable to most of us. This is why Lama Yeshe taught this. He really wanted his Western students to understand how much bliss and joy they could create in their own mind without having to rely on external things. Because this was considered to be like, no, you shouldn't be teaching completion stage practices to ordinary people, but he did, and a lot of people appreciated it. So this practice also helps us in our development of single-pointed concentration. Normally, our dissatisfied mind wanders uncontrollably, blown here and there by the force of diluted energy in the psychic channels. Yet if we could have the experience of blissful pleasure, of bliss pleasurable enough to concentrate on, we simply would not want to wander elsewhere. All right, so here's the practice. Sit comfortably in your meditation place. Generate a strong positive motivation for doing this inner heat practice. And the other term for this, sometimes maybe you've heard it, it's called Duma. It's like T-U-M-O, Duma. Determined to keep your mind relaxed, concentrated, and free of expectations for the entire session. But I will say this about Duma practice. Herbert Benson went to, he actually had monks come, but he went to India, and he did, he did testing on these monks that were doing Duma practice, because he'd heard these stories about these monks who would, in the Himalayas when it was like freezing cold, and they put wet sheets on top of them, and they do Duma practice, and this inner heat was so powerful that steam, they would dry the sheets. And so Herbert Benson wanted to see this and test them, so he actually, it turns out that their temperature, in their body was still 98.6, right? It was normal. But on their skin, they had raised the temperature of their skin so much. It was like 115 degrees or 17 degrees. So he documented all this stuff. And this was all Dumo practice, basically. So this is, it's got some scientific stuff going on here. So start by visualizing the central channel as a transparent, hollow tube, a finger breadth in diameter. It runs straight down through the center of the body, just in front of the spinal column, from the crown of your head to the base of your spine. Next, visualize the right and left channels, slightly thinner than the central one. Those are the nadis. And they start, the central channel, the Sanskrit word is shushuma, and the Sanskrit word for the right and left channels are called nadis. They start from the right and left nostril respectively. They travel upward to the top of the head and then curve over to run downward on either side of the central channel. It's like an umbrella handle. They curve inward and join the central channel at a point approximately 4 finger breadths below the level of the navel. So again, when you in Tibetan Buddhism, we do our hands like this, right? I don't know if people can see this, but we form a diamond basically, and the thumbs are supposed to be at the level of the navel, and so about 4 finger breadths below is where your hands are, right on top of the left. So it's like this. It's to help these meditators who are trying to do Dumo practice to bring their consciousness to that level where their thumbs are touching. All right. Take as long as you like to construct this visualization. Once it's stable, imagine a red-hot ember the size of a tiny seed inside the central channel at the level of the navel. So that's where your fingers are touching. To strengthen this visualization, imagine reaching into a fire and taking out a tiny glowing ember and placing it in your central channel. Once it's there, really feel its intense heat. Now, in order to increase the heat, gently contract the muscles of the pelvic floor, concentrating on the inner rather than the external muscles. In this way, bring air energy up from the lowest chakras to the ember. I guess it's kind of like a Kegel exercise, similar. Next, gently take a full breath through both nostrils. The air travels from the nostrils down the right and left channels to where they enter the central channel just below the level of the navel. That's 4 finger breaths below the navel. The air joins the heat there with the energy brought up from below. All right, so again, we got at the level of the navel is this little ember that's very hot and creating a lot of warmth. And we're going to breathe through the left and right channel. And remember, they go along the central channel and join the central channel 4 finger breaths below the navel. The energy, when we inhale, that energy goes, and enters the central channel at that level. As you stop inhaling, immediately swallow and push down gently with your diaphragm in order to firmly compress the energy brought down from above. Now the energy is completely locked in, compressed from above and below. Now hold your breath for as long as comfortable to do so, concentrating completely on the ember at the navel area, whose heat is increasing and spreading as a result of the compressed air. So I'll say this again, but sometimes it's called vase breathing because it looks kind of like a vase. But we're bringing the energy from below, And then and the energy from above as we press down, and that's making that ember like really, really hot, okay? Very, very hot. A lot of heat gets generated mentally as we do this. So I'll read this again. Now, in order to increase the heat, gently contract the muscles of the pelvic floor, concentrating on the internal rather than the external muscles. In this way, bring air energy up from the lowest chakras to the ember. Next, gently take a full breath through both nostrils, and the air traveling down through the right and the left channels to where they enter the central channel just below the level of the navel. The air joins with the heat there and with the energy brought up from below. As you stop inhaling, immediately swallow and push down gently with your diaphragm in order to firmly compress the energy brought down from above. Now the air energy is completely locked in, compressed from above and below. Again, as you stop inhaling, immediately swallow and push down gently with your diaphragm in order to firmly compress the energy brought down from above. Now the air energy is completely locked in, compressed from above and below. And then you hold your breath for as long as comfortable to do so, concentrating completely on the ember at the navel, whose heat is increasing and spreading as a result of the compressed air energy. And when you're ready, relax your lightly tense muscles and exhale completely and gently. All of the air leaves through your nostrils. Visualize that it rises up through the central channel and dissolves there. The heat emanating from the burning ember at the navel continues to increase and spreads. It starts to burn away the blockages at each chakra to warm the concentration of silvery, blissful energy found at the crown chakra. However, the focal point of your concentration is always the heat of the burning ember at the navel. Let's do this. It says once your first exhalation is complete, again, tighten the lower muscles. Inhale a second time, swallow, push down with the diaphragm, thus compressing the air and intensifying the heat. Hold your breath and concentrate on the heat, then exhale, releasing the air up the central channel once again. Repeat this entire cycle rhythmically 7 times altogether, the intensity of the heat growing with each breath. Let's try to do that for the next couple of minutes. With when each exhalation is complete, again, tighten the lower muscles. Inhale through the nostrils. Swallow, push down with the diaphragm, thus again compressing the air and intensifying the heat. Hold your breath and concentrate on the heat, and then exhale, relaxing, releasing the air up the central channel again, once again. At the seventh exhalation, imagine that the now burning hot ember explodes into flames. They shoot up the central channel, completely consuming and purifying the diluted energy at each chakra. At the crown, the flames finally melt and release the silvery, blissful energy which pours down the purified central channel, giving increased pleasure at each chakra it passes. Finally, when it meets the blazing ember at the navel chakra, there is an explosion of bliss. This blissful heat flows out every atom and cell of your body, completely filling you and making your mind very happy. So again, this burning ember explodes into flames, shoots up the central channel, completely consuming all the diluted energy in the chakras. And at the crown, it melts this silvery, blissful energy, which is sort of like syrup, silvery, blissful energy, and it pours down the central channel, giving increasing pleasure at each chakra it passes. Finally, it meets the blazing ember at the navel, where there's an explosion of bliss, which that energy flows out every cell in your body. Concentrate on the pleasure without tension or expectation, without clinging to it or analyzing it. Just relax and enjoy it. You will notice that no matter how strong the pleasure is, your mind and body are calm and controlled, unlike the usual experience of physical pleasure when the mind is excited and uncontrolled. If your mind should wander from its concentration to other objects, past or future, object of attachment or aversion, focus your attention on the subject of the thought, the mind that perceives the distracting objects, the thinker. Watch the subject until the distracting thought disappears, then concentrate again on the blissful feeling. Is the feeling permanent or impermanent? Is the feeling blissful or suffering? Is the feeling related or unrelated to the nervous system and the mind? Does the feeling exist inherently from its own side without depending on anything else? Okay, you can relax your concentration. So, any comments or anything about that meditation? It was way different than anything we do here at Kadampa Center, usually.
If anyone on Zoom wants to share, just unmute and share.
Yeah, what is it? I can't see. While we're getting ready,
You had asked
Yeah.
it was just extremely relaxing, and I did notice the warmth. I got warmer.
yeah, good.
Yeah, even in a relaxed state, which I typically get colder. Yeah, to be getting warmer in that relaxed state, and it was deeply relaxing. Deeply relaxing. Thank you. Thanks.
Good. Yeah, I remember one time some people who knew Lama Yeshe in the early days, they were hiking up in the Mount Everest area, and it was really cold, and Lama was walking around with almost nothing, just had on little light monk's robes, just little tissue paper robes, and he was completely happy. I think he had this one down. Yeah. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. I think we can end a little bit early tonight. I just wanted to review a couple of things about Tantra that are worth saying. It's said, this is sounds like a little bit like a like an advertisement, but it's said that Tantra is like really, really rare, and it's said that Shakyamuni Buddha was of the 1,000 Buddhas in this great eon, he's the only one that taught Tantra. So, for us to even hear the word Tantra is really special. So, and then to have an opportunity to practice it and actually meet qualified teachers who explain the practices to us and help us not get in trouble is really special. So Tantra is rare and special. And then as I said, you really need to have a commitment to the Buddhist path if you want to practice at this level. And all you need really is some intellectual. I would say beyond is probably needs to be a little bit more than intellectual, because if it's just intellectual, you wouldn't have much commitment to it. But you have to have an appreciation for renunciation, bodhicitta, and correct view of emptiness. Those are 3 principles of the path. So that's the doorway to Tantra, is Buddhist refuge and some experience and appreciation and an understanding of the 3 principles of the path. And then a lot of people just, I don't want to do it, I don't want to take the commitments, and I understand that. I was that way myself. And I think a lot of it has to do with where you are in your life. If you got 7 kids and a job that takes work, you just don't have time. But it's really important to if you get an opportunity to practice Tantra, it's a rare opportunity and something that you should at least consider doing it. Like I said, Geshe-la, Geshe Geshe-gelag, the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa are all, their main practices are Tantra, and it deepens their experience of the 3 principles of the path and bodhicitta. That's why they don't discriminate. It's not like this or that. They really are, they merge at some point. Tantra really deepens our understanding of the 3 principles in a real, like we're practicing being a person who can live that way in Tantra. So it's like an opportunity to practice being a Buddha now. Again, we call it the resultant path, where we take our future enlightenment, which is something we can't even imagine. We let go of our ordinary sense of self. We dissolve this self into emptiness, and then we arise as this perfect being. This perfect being made up with a light body, who's beautiful and perfect in every way, has no limitations, and every sort of, because they don't have, there's no atoms there, but that every bit of that being is for the purpose of benefiting others. The body of a Buddha only exists to be a benefit to others. So kind of cool. So I appreciate people hanging in there for 2 weeks, those of you who've made it. And maybe next time we could do it more, or we could even do a tantric retreat. Thank you. We actually did. I don't know if you were there, Linda, or not. We did about 4 or 5 years ago. It might be, God, I can't even remember. It was at a Catholic retreat center in Durham, and we did we did like a 4 or 5 day. People took time off work, and we did a Vajrasattva retreat there, and it was about 20 or 30 people there, and we did 4 sessions a day. We do prostrations and would be part of it, and then we would do Vajrasattva practice, and we mainly used this little sadhana here, which is a great bedtime practice. Clean up our karmic messes if we made any, and rejoice in, as Jivan said, rejoice. That's really important, very important. He said, if you They said a bodhisattva's main practice is rejoicing. It's interesting. Because if a bodhisattva, if we do something virtuous and a bodhisattva rejoices in it, then he or she gets the same merit we get. So rejoicing is very powerful. And it also, if we rejoice in something that we did well, we're more likely to do it again. That's another reason that rejoicing is such a powerful practice. So let's do our dedication verses and wrap it up.
Okay. It's page is it? Hang on, let me share the screen, I'll tell you. I think it's 246.
I think you're right.
Yeah, 246, 247.
So individually and collectively, we have created positive merit, positive potentials, and we want that merit to ripen not just in our own happiness, but to benefit countless living beings throughout all space and time. It's kind of mind-blowing, but that's the attitude of a bodhisattva, and that's what we want to be. So we dedicate this merit to the benefit of universal living beings, and we'll do recite Shantideva's verses here. May all beings everywhere, plagued by the sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid of a little with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective, and may wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and may those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, till then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Amen. All right.
All right, couple of quick announcements. This is our last class of this 2-year cycle of Discovering Buddhism. Woohoo!
Yay.
So we will start, the dates haven't been set yet, but we will likely start back in January of 2025. So keep your eye out on the calendar, and announcements through Kadampa Center's website and announcements like this. We will be bringing on board a couple of other new classes as well, which I'm excited about. And as you know, hopefully you know, Kadampa Center runs exclusively on the generosity of its students. So if you got anything out of this class and would like to donate, you can do so online. Outside the Gampa door, there's a box. You can send in a check. Lots of different ways to donate. So on the website, there is a donate button right in the top right-hand corner. So that's where you can do it online. All right, thank you so much, Don.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Thank you. I'd also say, if you got nothing out of this class, you can still donate.
There you go.
Because it's the practice of generosity, which we all need to be doing. The teachings are priceless, so you can't put a price on them. You donate because it's who
Dharma.
you are.
All right, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Don. Thanks, Linda.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Don.
Todd and Linda.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Thanks, Linda.
Thanks so much, Dawn. Thanks, Linda.
Thanks for being here. See you soon.